Hello and welcome back. My name's Jesse Muelman-Marshall, and I'm here today with Ira Fay, our Codex Keeper and Gen Con event organizer extraordinaire. Good to have you with us, Ira.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
We're a few days out from Gen Con now. Have you caught up on some sleep and managed to get rid of some of the tiredness from all the amazing marathon that you just ran?
Yes, I've managed to recover a bit. It's nice to be home and really looking forward to exploring this with you.
Fantastic. So this is the very exciting finals video from the Crossroads event that we ran at Gen Con. So this was our first Crossroads event. It has been a very big journey of anticipation for us at Erik's Curiosa from the moment that we started working on this organized play program to actually rolling out this first Crossroads event and, of course, our first cornerstone events in the past few weeks. It really does feel like a sort of Christmas season for us, watching all of these games and these massive tournaments happening all around the world. And Ira, what was it like being there on the ground for the first Crossroads event?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, it was the largest live tournament I've ever been a part of. And I've been, running and organizing sorcery tournaments and other tournaments for a long time, but we had more than like we sold out. It was, I think, in the end, 120 players. So it was just a giant tournament and a lot of fun. Great diversity of decks, and I'm super excited about this game in particular because I was there in person, like feet away from the table, but I was busy doing organizing things, so I have no idea like any of the details of this game. So I'm really excited to get to watch it now. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the volunteers because Gen Con absolutely would not have been possible without the volunteers and the judges. So thank you so much to them.
And Ira, I did notice that one of the other YouTube community channel members for Sorcery TCG, I think it was Brandon, from End Phase Games, recorded a video of you handing out the prizes after this match as well. So I think that's a good one for people to go and check out for a bit of the atmosphere. But was that nice for you watching that moment back? Because that must have been pretty special.
I haven't seen it. I'm definitely going to go watch it. It was amazing. It was really very special. I was incredibly nervous carrying that binder around because that binder had a lot of very very fancy cards in it. But it was so fun to get to share it with the community and everybody there, getting to and seeing that there really was every avatar there, and knowing that like you could get that avatar, there's a chance. So that
And
was
that's
really
those,
fun.
yeah, that's those rainbow foil avatars for the top four, but at Gen Con it tended out to be the top seven players who are tied on record. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Since we didn't do a top cut at Gen Con, we wanted to make sure that nobody missed it based on tie breaks. And so we just said that as a special thing for Gen Con, anybody who went 6-1 or better was going to get one of those rainbow foil avatars.
Fantastic. And Ira, of course, the other thing is that you have been running these Gen Con events for Eric's Curiosa and for Sorcery now for 3 years. I think you started out with 32, 64, and now 128 players for the marquee constructed events over those 3 years. What's that journey felt like for you? And what's the Gen Con journey in general been like?
I mean, I think it's really a testament to the community because the way Gen Con allocates seats is based on player demand. So every year I've been asking for more and more, and every year we've been getting more and more because the players are showing up, the players are participating, and we have an incredible volunteer team that's supporting this and making it possible. So yeah, I remember playing with alpha cards, in 2023, and so it was really fun to get to see this experience and get to play the first Crossroads event at Gen Con 2025.
Wonderful. Well, we do have some more Crossroads events coming up throughout the rest of the year, which we'll chat a bit more about after this game. But let's dive straight into the gameplay and see what happened in the finals. All right, so we've got a handshake to start things off. And Ira, tell us a bit about where you were at this moment while the players are doing this. Are you sitting next to them
No,
in the judging
I
seat?
was I was I don't know, 10 feet away, and I was busily preparing for the casual play and trade event. So after this big Crossroads tournament, which is obviously a competitive event, we have a casual play and trade event, which is just a celebration of the community, a bunch of door prizes. And so I was like getting cases of boosters organized and other prizes. So
Right, right. So we've got a Druid v Druid here, starting off with an Oasis into a Tawny. And of course, you would have seen many Druids across the weekend, Ira, with it having a pretty substantial metagame share to a few people's surprise compared to Archimago. Perhaps not surprised seeing a lot of Druids, but certainly seeing, I think, more than twice as many Druids as Archimagos might have caught a few people by surprise.
yeah, that's interesting. I was certainly not surprised by that personally, knowing the fun that Druid provides.
Mm,
And I also think, and also the competitive level too. I think that what's interesting about this matchup is that we can see Pascal on the bottom, who is playing a fire earth version of Druid.
yes.
And up top, Nate is playing a fire water version of Druid. So I think even though there were, multiple Druids, there's actually quite a diversity of decks even within Druid. So seeing,
Absolutely. And that pond into Lugbog Cat is something as
yeah,
an Earth player, or as anyone who's played Avatar of Earth or mid-range Earth for quite a while will know, a turn 2 Autumn Unicorn off a tower is a pretty powerful play if you're lucky enough to be able to get that double Earth threshold off your Onyx core. But pond into Lugbog Cat seems like an even easier way to get a turn 2 4/4.
yeah, yeah, it's such a wonderful start for Nate. And it looks like Nate not only did Nate get that on turn two, he was going first on turn two. And we
Yeah.
could see that Pascal thought for quite some time about where to place his second site. And the fact that
Mm.
had he placed it forward, it would have been immediately attacked on
Or
the
even
board.
pulled apart the column with the Rift Valley and placed it right in front of Nate's Druid. That certainly wasn't the play here.
Yeah, which is obviously Rift Valley is incredibly good against more defensive site placements, but in something like this where they're really happy to go toe to toe, Pascal needs that extra time.
Absolutely. So we've got Nate then playing forward with the Kelp Cavern here. A really interesting card, taking a look at the cards on the bottom of the spellbook and thinking about which one to put on top. We've got a Self-Same, a Violent, and a Saracen Raider. Saracen Raiders? Yeah. What are you putting on top here if you're in Nate's seat, Ara?
I think I'm putting the self same on top just because I don't know, maybe he has a second fire threshold or fire affinity in his hand, but he can definitely play the self same. And I think I'd want to get, even if I copy a cat with that, I'm probably not unhappy. Which did he take? I
Mm.
missed it.
I've missed it too. It was a bit of a sleight of hand slide of those three. We'll see if he flips them over again before he puts the one on top.
We'll be surprised. That's fun.
And then we've got the two Tawnies here facing off. Ira, tell us a little bit about Tawny and its power both in the game and in this tournament. Of course, we saw Tor's Hammer Trinket as the second most played card in the tournament. Is that a nod to Tawny, do you think?
I think that's a significant factor with Tawny. I also think Ring of Morrigan obviously gets spell triggers on all of those. Um, and it's just a way of making even a small minion a threat. Interesting to see. I think we did see that he put the Raiders on top,
Okay.
which is very interesting because he actually we see his hand. He actually does not have a fourth sight in hand right now, so he doesn't even have
Mm.
that second fire affinity. But I guess he just values the charge and the flexibility of the positioning to be able to play it to any site without an enemy.
And that second fire affinity going to be critical here with the Pact with the Devil as well to get to utilize that Tawny as the sacrificial spellcaster to get those three spells or three cards.
Yeah. And the other thing that we're seeing here, we're seeing swap being played, which is
Mm.
which is super fun. So this is a card from Gothic. I guess Tawny, he just traded Tawny for Tawny. Um and
And then attacking the foot soldier with the cat. Yep.
Right. So Swap is a card from Gothic. We had this alternate art version of it available as a, convention special. I don't know exactly what it was classified as, but what we is available in part in the um, Cornerstone kits, right?
That's right. As a thank you for our community champions.
And then we also made it sort of available as a thank you, one per player per Gen Con. So if a player found me at Gen Con, I carried around a binder of swaps, and if they gave me a ordinary, the prompt was give me your favorite ordinary or exceptional card signed by the player themselves, and then they were able to swap with me, and that way the swap was tournament legal in this Crossroads event, even though Gothic has not been released yet. And I think a lot of
A
people are
very
pretty
special little mixer-upper there, Ira, way to sort of shake up the metagame with just one card. I mean, it's made its way all the way into the finals, so it shows you, I guess, that even one card, let alone the significant number that's going to be coming in Gothic, can shake up a metagame.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the effect of this card is so special for water, there's really
Mm,
not a lot of effects in the current card pool that does this. It's very effective at bypassing sites that might otherwise block you.
mm.
And also, as we saw in this case, getting the Lugbog Cat into position, able to attack right away on turn 3.
And we're seeing here a Kettletop Leprechaun come down, which is personally one of my favorite hits from Arthurian Legends. One of, I think, the more powerful tournament staples to come out of that set, along with, of course, Ring of Morrigan and some of the higher rarity cards. But as far as ordinaries go, the humble Kettletop Leprechaun certainly dominated its share of the metagame for an ordinary.
It's quite good. 2 power, and you get to draw a card eventually. I'm a little surprised by Pascal's choice of positioning on this. Um, I guess he just wants to stave off the damage that's coming in from this cat.
Mm.
And I guess in the future he will play a bigger minion. I guess he does have Pudge coming down next turn.
So we're expecting the Kettletop to come in and defend here. But yes, so there we go. Pascal, as expected, taps, moves in with the Kettletop and defends the Lugbog Cat strike. So as much as the swap was a helpful reposition for Nate and really helped him skip a wasted turn with the Lugbog Cat that he would have had to spend moving up onto the Kelp Cavern, it hasn't really resulted in much of a blowout play here. Pascal still hasn't actually taken any damage from the cat.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I feel like it was effectively for life because the cat is going, well, maybe not. You're right. The fact that that foot soldier got eliminated on turn 3 when otherwise he could stick around possibly to defend a later attack, I think it is significant. For example, if Pascal is going to play Pudge Butcher, as I would expect on his home
Mm.
site, the cat will be able to go and maybe attack into a Rift Valley, and the Pudge Butcher won't be able to defend against it. Where if you still had that foot soldier back from turn 3, the foot soldier would still be available. So we'll see how it plays out. I really don't know.
So we've got a
Uh,
Taurus Hammer Trinket and an
oh,
attack under the
interesting.
cat potentially here
Okay. So I guess we're not getting the Pudge, and instead we're killing the cat in some way.
with...
It's taken 2 damage so far.
Are we picking up the trinket with the druid and attacking the cat? No, we're playing a site. On
Okay.
turn, with only 3 sites out, I wouldn't expect the druid to start attacking. Cross some kobolds. That makes sense.
I am a little surprised by the positioning of the kobolds
Yes.
in the corner there to not be able to
Mm.
get a little farther along, but well,
Yeah, it does mean that the kobolds are likely going to have to strike Tawny, the friendly Tawny, or the druid next turn if they're not going to strike themselves.
yeah. The other thing, just to acknowledge what happened on Nate's turn 4, he did manage to get the second fire
Mm.
affinity, allowing
Off
him
the Oasis. Mm.
off the Oasis, allowing him on that turn to both get Tawny and then immediately sacrifice Tawny to the Pact with the Devil. And the fact that he top decked that, as far as I could tell, it was a top deck of that fire affinity was very significant because getting to draw 3 extra cards so efficiently was quite useful.
Very much so. And now the Saracen Raiders that was selected from the Kelp Caverns gets to make an appearance and take out the Quarrelsome Kobolds.
Right.
And Saracen Raiders' ability also coming into play there as well. You know, the Kobolds were placed. You queried, Ira, whether it was too defensive a placement, although it did have some defensive benefits for the Kobolds, but not effective at defending against Saracen Raiders.
Right. And this is actually an example of the benefit of the swap way back when, because if there was a stray foot soldier still around, that foot soldier combined with the kobolds would have had 3 power and would have been enough to trade with the raiders instead of simply being lost to the raiders. So, I think that it's really one of the things I really love about sorcery is how some of those decisions along the way can really impact the game. So the fact that Nate on turn 3 went ahead and played a swap just to accelerate his game, he was going first, and he was able to put on the pressure starting immediately on turn 3 because of the turn 2 pawn followed by the turn 3 swap. So that's
And
great.
now we've got some power hitters in hand. We're going to be up to 5 mana on Nate's side, and we've got a decent 2-drop in the Polar Explorers and 2 powerful 3-drops, Lugbog Cat and Morgana Le Fay, possibly one of the most powerful 3-drops, plus the Ring of Morrigan. So if you're adding up to 5 here, you can either play one of the 3-drops and the Ring, or one of the 3-drops and the Polar Explorers. What are you thinking? We're starting off with Morgana, which seems reasonable because it's giving you 3 additional pieces of information.
Morgana Le Fay is my favorite card. she
There
she
you
is
go.
she is very, very good. Can't really get better than stealth and draw 3 cards for 3. I think this is a real reason to play fire, and yeah, it's super exciting. And this is another thing I love about sorcery, that there are singleton unique cards that have a real
Mm.
impact on the game. And yes, there's variance. But that's, to me, that's a really fun thing.
And some of these characters will only come out once in every few games, across your 7 rounds of Gen Con. If you've got a singleton in your 50-card deck, you're not going to be seeing it every game. So it does feel like a bit of an event when Morgana Le Fay makes an appearance.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Nate has certainly had a very nice start with Morgana, the Ring of Morrigan, Pact with the Devil. All of these are very powerful, unique cards.
And I think we're going to finally see Nate draw first blood here with 3 damage from the Saracen Raiders on the Druid's home site. But as of right now, the Saracen Raiders are right in Pudge Butcher's sights.
Yeah, I think Pudge Butcher will surely take care of the Raiders. We'll see if that cat's going to stick on the board or not. The thing that's very challenging for Pascal, I think, in this situation is that Nate has drawn effectively 6 extra
Mm,
cards, 3 from Morgana and 3 from
packed with the devil.
yeah, Pact with the Devil. So that's pretty significant.
Very. And if he doesn't find a way to take care of Morgana this turn, then that card advantage is going to keep mounting. Whereas if he can take out Morgana, we can see there are self-same, a Polar Explorers, and a Lava Flow in Morgana's hand.
Is Morgana going to copy Morgana
It's a good
with the self
question.
same?
That would be very interesting and very flavorful. Morgana summons a self-same simulacrum of herself.
Wow. Very exciting.
And so Lugbog Cat here threatening more damage. So we're going to see, I think, unless Pascal does have a way to maneuver the Pudge Butcher, which seems unlikely in Earth and Fire, although it is possible, we're going to see the Pudge take out the Saracen Raiders. And then Pascal's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana here to think about how to deal with the cat that's breathing down his neck, as well as the Morgana sitting there stealthed on the other side of the battlefield.
Yeah, and I think the seeing that Nate has still effectively 5 cards and also is able to play out 6 sites. If you're looking at your hand and you have these spells that draw you more spells, Pact with the Devil or Morgana or Self Same to copy Morgana, um, then you have a little more freedom to draw sites, and that lets you make sure you continue to ramp your mana and benefit from those additional spells in your hand. For example, that last turn Nate was able to play 2 spells, and we're going to expect to see probably 2 spells from Nate for the next many turns in a row, where Pascal really has only been playing one spell per turn, or I guess with a trinket. I think that you asked earlier about trinket. I think one of the
Mm,
benefits of trinket is that you get to um, have the efficient use of your mana. So right now, Pascal spent 3 mana to play Disintegrate, getting rid of the Lugbog Cat, and now has 2 mana available. If Tawny attacks in, instead of just for 1, that's an efficient use of an extra mana to be able to attack in for 2 instead of just 1.
absolutely. And it is a tougher spot in terms of tempo for a fire earth deck to be, I think, compared to a water fire deck. You know, you as fire earth, less so as fire, but more as earth, you have a lot of threats like Pudge that you want to play down and have your opponent be in a position where they have to respond to. So having tempo can be quite a significant benefit. Whereas when you're behind on tempo, the Pudge Butcher here has still taken out the Saracen Raiders, which is good. But it does feel as though Nate still has the tempo. You know, he's got the opportunity both have Morgana Le Fay in play, but also to make the running in terms of what's going to happen from here. Polar Explorers, Ira, is one that I am really pleased to see in more of these Druid decks. So it's come down, it's allowed Tawny to attack the Pudge from the other side of the board. It's one thing when I've been playing it with Druid, particularly because of Bruin, actually, and your ability to accumulate quite a few minions on your side of the board. Ruler of Thule has always felt like it has even more power in these kind of decks that you can just attack people out of nowhere for quite a bit of damage. And it's made a lot of sense to me to see these Polar Explorers as an elite coming in as a 2 of in a lot of these decks to allow just that attack through the back door, I guess, with a lot of minions that you're able to accumulate on your back row.
Yep. Yeah, and I think in this game there weren't even a lot of defensive sites, but
Oh my.
yeah,
Wow, sorry, just this lava flow. So the Polar Explorer is allowing Morgana as a spellcaster to make it across to the other side of the board on the back row, cast the lava flow, which finishes off the Pudge after the Tawny attacked in for 1. That is a huge play.
absolutely. And the fact that Morgana now did lose stealth from the attack and from spellcasting. So there are 2 spells in Morgana's hand at risk to being
Unless
lost.
the Polar Explorers was the one from Morgana's, because she had one of those too. So it could have been.
Oh, of course, of course. And I'm sure Nate would have played from Morgana's hand. Though I do see 2 cards over there.
Hmm,
I was assuming those were in Morgana's hand. I guess we'll see. Also, I couldn't quite tell. I'm not sure that Pascal even has anything in his hand to immediately get rid of Morgana anyway.
hmm,
So it's certainly a tough situation. I'm wondering why the Druid is still tapped. Perhaps Pascal is considering what card to draw at the start of his turn
potentially.
and just hasn't yet untapped Druid. Okay, there we
Yeah.
see an untapped Druid.
And is this potentially a flip? It's not the kind of situation where you want to already be forced to flip. And you certainly don't want your Bruin to be in danger from those backdoor attacks from the Polar Explorers, but you also don't want to get down too low.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he chooses. I guess I'll just note that Pascal uh, flew from Switzerland to Indianapolis, Indiana, United States to participate in this Crossroads event, and so it was really a pleasure to get to see him. We also had Hain fly all the way from Japan. I don't know if there were other international travelers who played in sorcery events, but we certainly appreciated their presence, and it was fun that Pascal was able to make the finals. and do so well.
Ah, that's fantastic. What a great story. And I know that we have quite a few international tickets booked for the remainder of the Crossroads series as well, both for the Star City Games conventions in the USA. We've got a large contingent of New Zealanders flying across, as we say, across the ditch to Australia for the Melbourne Crossroads. And there'll be a lot of international travel happening, I'm sure, within Europe to the Germany Crossroads event. So the Crossroads are definitely getting players traveling from far and wide, which is exactly what we love to see.
Yeah, everybody there I think was having a lot of fun, but it adds something special when you have such diverse participants from so many different areas. That's one of the things I really love about organized play. There are people who I've played with online through TTS, through the league, and obviously I love my local store. Shout out to Unison Games, but it's something really special to come together at an even bigger event and get to see the people who you maybe have interacted with online, but then to get to play in person is yeah, just really fun. So
Absolutely. I was seeing a little bit of thinking here from on Nate's turn with the Polar Explorers down. Or are we still on Pascal's turn? Because I think Pascal has actually used his
I
mana.
think
Yeah, he's
I think
thinking. Yeah.
we're still on Pascal's turn, and I guess I have a couple of other things to mention while we're seeing what he ends up doing. I
Mm.
see that he's thinking quite hard if he's going to flip or if he's going to play a site. We'll see. But on Nate's turn, he got up to 7 mana. So again, this is because of that the early draws of spells. He was able to continue to draw sites, because often, at least my experience is, when I am maybe low on spells,
Oh, we'll see it.
look what we
Yeah, so
just got.
he's actually using the Avatar of the Realm foil arrow. Tell us more about that one.
Yeah, I was excited for that moment. So the players had this idea, and they said, because both of these players were 6-0 going into this game. They were totally undefeated for the whole day, and so both of them were guaranteed to at least be 6-1 on the day. So they knew that they were both going to receive the special avatar, and so we decided, as a little fun surprise, to let them have it in advance of the game so we could see it on camera when they flipped. So
Doesn't it look
that's
fantastic? So we've of course got the Avatar of the Realm logo foiled there. We've got the differential type line commemorating their past triumphs. And of course, it had to be the reverse side of the Druid because that is the end state of the Druid at the end of the game. So that's the way that'll make sense. And I have seen a couple of people asking about the rainbow foiling on these. So we do have a slightly different rainbow stamp that's used on the stamped section of these cards. So that's the Avatar of the Realm logo and the type line, as well as the name of the avatar at the top of the card. And it's just, I don't know if you noticed this, Ira, when you were looking at them in person, but it's a subtle difference between the way that it shines compared to the silver stamp on the rest of our foil cards. The rainbow foil stamp on these cards just has a little bit more color in it in the way that that stamp shines.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I quite honestly, I was so nervous whenever I was touching the binder. I was like, I never like took him out to look at him, but I'm sure we'll have more good examples of that coming in the upcoming Crossroads event. So it's nice that these are starting to get out.
Absolutely. And we saw a Pudge Butcher come down here as well on that home site. So there are a couple of defensive plays. We've got, of course, the Bruin that came from the Flips Druid and then the Pudge Butcher. Really hoping, Pascal's going to be really hoping here that Nate hasn't drawn another Lava Flow to finish off all of those big minions. But I can see a Monstrous Lion. So in combination with Polar Explorers, that's just about as good as Monstrous Lion is going to be. I mean, of course, the Monstrous Lion could come down on the Kelp Cavern anyway and attack into the Bruin. But being able to attack in and take out the Bruin is pretty significant. Although, Ira, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Pudge Butcher's new enhanced mode of not being, or immobilized being a little bit less debilitating than it used to be? Pudge Butcher's made a little bit of a recovery from its physical injuries.
Yeah, that's right. So the way that most players intuitively played immobile, for whenever you taught it to a new player, you sort of assumed that it couldn't move around, But if it was like being attacked, like the site right there was being attacked, or a minion right there was being attacked, you'd kind of expect it to be able to defend. And that's exactly how it works now. So immobile simply means the unit cannot move itself around. So
So that's critical here because this monstrous lion could snipe the Bruin if the Pudge Butcher was not able to defend. But now that the Pudge Butcher can defend on that site, Nate is having to be a little bit careful about how to use this monstrous lion because Bruin taking out Bruin may not be entirely possible this turn.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Nate uses the ring or if he's going to wait, because I noticed that if the Pudge Butcher chooses to defend this
Mm.
attack, then the Pudge Butcher will only have one um, damage remaining. And again, it's the benefit of just having so much mana available. It's likely that Nate will be able to play Monstrous Lion, play the ring, maybe even play something else. I don't know that he's going to deploy the ring this early, but it's a possibility that he
And of
could.
course, it is risky deploying the ring onto one of the minions. Of course, I mean, he could
Yeah,
deploy it onto the Druid and then move the Druid across the poles using the Polar Explorer.
yeah.
And that may be the play. Because he also does have another 2-drop in hand to do the math on the mana there. 4 mana from the Monstrous Lion, 1 from the Ring, and then 2 mana from the Polar Explorers, equaling to the 7 that he has available. Means that he can make that play if he wants to.
And he has a decent amount of life, so it wouldn't be unreasonable to be able to continue applying pressure.
Yeah, it's quite incredible how, for a deck that sits back and plays a lot of sites early and has, options to deploy minions forward with things like Lugbog Hat and Saracen Raiders, but can still deploy things into a defensive position and have its avatar, which sort of contains a 4 power minion within itself, sitting on the back row, and then turn that into so many offensive options using the Polar Explorers. I'm really loving how the Polar Explorers have changed all the dynamics of this game here in terms of Pascal's ability to defend his position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
I
saw the monstrous lion. It attacked and the Pudge Butcher defended. Now I think is what we've just seen there. Sorry to interrupt, Ira.
No, that was a great point, and I think you're exactly right. Um, yeah, so it's interesting, but it makes sense that he would choose to do that. Um, so Pudge
Especially
Butcher
not
has
knowing
4
that the
damage
ring's
on
in
him.
hand. Yeah.
I
So if
will
you're sitting in Pascal's seat here, Ira, you might be expecting, well, you might be doing the weighing up calculation of if Nate attacks with the Polar Explorers and the Morgana combined, I'm going to lose my Bruin, but at least I'm taking out both of those minions. That might be kind of what he's thinking. But it's unlikely that he's going to even get that much profit out of the trades from his Bruin here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And I think the fact that Polar Explorers adds this sort of asymmetric mobility, the fact that
Mm,
Nate can do these sorts of movements, but Pascal in reverse cannot, I think is just one of the interesting things about sorcery, that the sort of the layout of the grid and the fact that um, actually Nate is very close to Pascal, only one site away, basically from the back. But Pascal asymmetrically is 3 sites away and is not going to be able to counterattack quite as easily.
mm.
Um, I also think the fact that Nate has what usually when you go first, you have a bit of a yep, there's the ring.
Ring on Morgana. Not something that you see very often, Ira, it must be said. People playing such a valuable artifact onto a minion that's on the other side of the board. I know it is only one step away, as you just mentioned, but still, it does feel like a big risk.
Yeah, and I wonder if Morgana is going to end up retreating
Mm.
or just attacking. Um so did Nate I didn't see Nate gain a light. Okay, good. So Nate does heal from that, even though Morgana was the spellcaster. What's interesting is that Uh, whoa. Is Morgana was sacrificing herself to attack
The Bruin?
Bruin?
Mm.
And now the Druid is coming in, takes one from the thorns, but picks up the
It
ring.
gets to retrieve the ring.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Um, yeah, Ring of Morgan is quite powerful. Uh,
So,
yeah,
given that was going to happen anyway, the Druid could conceivably have held the ring the whole time and just moved in before those trades happened. So, it doesn't really change things all that much, but it is a massive flavor win to have Morgana hold her ring at some point in the game.
actually, I think it was necessary uh for two reasons. One,
Mhm.
if the Druid moved in first, then Bruin could have intercepted
Ah,
the
that's true.
Druid and inflicted damage. And the second reason is I'm almost sure that that second Polar Explorers, I think it actually came from Morgana's hand. I don't know. It seemed like it was from Morgana's hand. And so if it's in
Ah, that's a good
Morgana's
point.
hand, then Morgana had to cast it, and the Ring of Morgan requires you to be the
So,
spellcaster.
perhaps
In
that
the end, it didn't
assumption,
matter.
yeah, perhaps that assumption we made the turn before about whose hand the Polar Explorers had come from wasn't the right one. Perhaps
Yeah.
Morgana still had her Polar Explorers in hand.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Which I think in this case, it was significant. I don't know that Nate foresaw all of that at the time, but the
Mm.
fact that Morgana was able to get the ring and then cast a spell. Actually, no,
I
because if
think
it was in,
it could have happened the other way anyway, because he could have
yeah,
attacked with the Polar Explorers, attacked with Morgana,
sure.
moved in, and then pinged the Pudge, which was tapped, but it's all
Yeah.
good.
Right.
With the Polar Explorers, it just touched on an interesting thing for me as well with Morgana, which is that the hand that Morgana can play with is Morgana exclusive, but Morgana can also play your spells, which is an
Yes.
interesting thing. Like, it's a funny dynamic that Morgana has both your hand and hers, but you've only got yours.
Yes, exactly. She is powerful spellcaster. So what happened with the self same? It just got discarded? So Morgana had self same in her hand,
Mm.
and
And
then when
elected not to use it.
Morgana died, wow.
Mm.
So Nate really wanted to keep the pressure on
He
and
just
was
did not want
willing
that
to
Bruin staying around for one more turn.
give up a card for it.
Not
That
just any card, but a potential Morgana clone, as you said.
I yeah, that is great. I mean, that's really it, look, if you have the Ring of Morgan and you're sitting on your opponent's avatar, like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep.
We'll see if
But does
Pascal
it, I
can do
mean,
it.
to your point there, Ara, does that potentially now with Nate passing the turn back to Pascal on 8 life, does that give Pascal a little bit of hope here, do you think? Like, is Pascal in his seat sitting there thinking, all right, well, I've now got my mana available. What is it, 5 mana at this point? If I can play something beefy down here, Nate's board presence is not huge. Maybe I can start to swing the tempo a little bit.
Maybe so. We'll see. That was interesting. So Pascal just played a humble village off to the right. I'm a little surprised by that as opposed to next to the kelp caverns because
Mm, me
the
too.
druid's thorns prevented Tawny from coming into the desert and attacking because
Mm.
Tawny just would have died immediately. But if that village was over on 12, it would have been protected. I mean, you also have to remember there could be some deep thinking here. I also remind everybody that the players have been playing for hours and hours and hours. This has
Of
been
course.
really an intense game.
But it's an interesting one too, Ira, with the comment you were making earlier about every decision in sorcery can have an impact down the road. And things like where you place your site, this is turn whatever we're on now, well past turn 10. The decision about whether to place the site in one spot or another can still have significant consequence on the outcome of the game.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting to see here. The druid moved, took one damage from the thorns. Then a vile imp was played, and uh doing 2 damage, and then the Polar Explorers came in. So I'm
2
a
damage
little
plus the damage from the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
Why oh, Tawny should also die, right? Okay, good. They got that right. I'm a little surprised that the druid chose that Nate's druid chose to move to the Rift Valley
mm.
um instead of just staying on the humble village, but I guess it's nice to have a little more flexibility of where you can attack.
And to visit some different places in the realm. And it also gives us a nicer view of the Avatar of the Realm foil as well, which is nice.
That's right. Excellent point. Excellent point. So it definitely feels like Nate is just trying to control. Whoa! By the way, I remember this moment at Gen Con. The whole crowd went like crazy when this got played, and I thought the game was over. But it turns out
Right.
it was just a huge amount of life gain. So 12 life gained from that
That's
one
amazing.
Pillar of Xeris. And that's a real benefit of playing Earth, right? So Pascal is playing fire just like Nate. Nate's playing water, but this is a real benefit of Earth.
I know that early on, Ira, I was playing one Pillar of Zeros even in non-Earth decks.
Yeah,
Not
it's
just
that
because of
good.
Death Speaker, but because it's that good.
Yeah, yeah. So the fact that the ring is staying on the board for this long, I think, is extremely good for Nate.
Mhm.
You saw the efficiency with which he was able to eliminate a phalanx, a 5 power phalanx, with simply,
Is that the phalanx that's still there? Should that be?
that
Are
is
we
a
going to
new
have that?
phalanx. That is a
Oh,
new
that's a new
phalanx.
one. Okay,
Pascal played
good, good.
another phalanx. And we can see now the power of Trinket because it looks like Nate got a Trinket, which is going to be
Mm.
incredibly good in combination with the Ring of Morrigan.
But it is interesting, Ira. You know, you made the comment about Nate prioritizing pressure over potentially getting those 3 extra cards from the self-same simulacra and copying Morgana.
Yeah,
And now looking at this board, you know, if I was Nate right now, I'd kind of be going, oh, my opponent has 2 big things. Yes, I've got the capacity to trade my Violin into that Phalanx potentially, but he's still got an Autumn Unicorn and he's on 19 now. Have I maybe, you know, gone a bit too fast at the expense of not having the card advantage anymore?
great question. Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. Um, the fact is it the case that Nate only has a single card in his hand that it's a
I think it
trinket?
is.
Yeah, that's pretty significant.
You know, his
'Cause-
Druid, of course, still has the flip and there's still a Bruin in there, but yeah, I mean, there's an Autumn Unicorn on the other side of the board and a Phalanx.
Yeah, and if you're not able to take out the phalanx, can he actually take out the phalanx? Yeah, so trinket plus violimp attacking in plus ring plus the druid just
Yes.
attacking the phalanx. It's
Druid's got to take
painful,
5.
but you
Yeah.
do get healing from the ring and you get to eliminate the phalanx. I think
But
that's
yeah, the fact
probably
that he's even in
significant.
a position of considering that is very different to where he was a couple of turns ago.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So he hit the druid directly. He's attacking that site for 2. So he's trying to race. He's trying to race because he has the ring and he has a trinket. He's choosing to try and race Pascal on the damage race.
Which I think is the right call. You know, if you're sitting in Nate's seat here and you don't know what's on top of your deck, you know, you could have some not particularly high impact things coming, and Pascal could have a few quite high impact things coming down the pipe.
Whoa, look what just happened. 10 points of damage from that unicorn trinket plus Grim Guizarm. That is incredible. So the Phalanx took out the imp. The unicorn is now holding the Guisarme and did 10 points of damage to that site. And now what's the druid gonna do? Okay, druid is attacking in for another 1. So it could be the case that Nate goes to death's door as early as next turn.
That's certainly what Pascal's threatening now.
That was
So
a
good
pretty good
thing.
top deck.
Yes.
4-power charge minion with a trinket is gonna take out the unicorn and gain Nate 2 life. Oh, he's putting him at
Yeah,
death's
monstrous
door.
lion is phenomenal.
So he's just putting him on death's door. So I would have expected Nate to heal twice. So he should have healed once from the phone is incorrect right now, but the counter I think he should be at 10 right now because he should have healed once
Yes.
from the line and
Once
once
from
from
the
the
lion,
trinket.
once from the trinket. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I kind of would have expected him to trade the monstrous lion with a trinket. Oh, it would still die. I see. Even because of the Grim
Because of the Guisarme.
Guisarme.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I see. So now is it the case that Nate is going to death's door before Pascal?
Knowing that he's got the Bruin up his sleeve.
The Bruin and the Ring of Morrigan, I think, is really going to be a problem. I guess the Druid, Pascal's Druid, is going to continue into Nate's territory, and maybe try and get away from the ring. It's just it's very hard to protect yourself from the Ring of Morrigan.
It is. Running is not necessarily very effective.
I mean, it is something. Uh I think he'll get one side away because we would expect that Nate is going to have to flip on the Rift Valley next turn. And it's not even totally obvious that Nate is even going to be able to get Pascal to death's door
And the
on
other
this
thing
next
is,
turn.
Pascal may not even be able to get back nearby to Nate, given Nate's got his thorns active. If Nate is at death's door himself, his avatar will effectively be locked out from getting nearby to Pascal's avatar,
Yeah.
which makes the ring a bit less effective.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I wonder about that choice to move closer. I guess Pascal can then next turn retreat to the funeral pyre.
Yeah, but it almost seems like moving over onto the pond or just attacking over onto the pond would have given him a better position. But of course, being in enemy territory always feels riskier, doesn't it? Knowing that your opponent's playing Vile Imps, especially. So you can't win everything. But being out of Ring of Morrigan range does seem like it may have helped prevent him from going to Death's Door next turn. Although, yeah, it's impossible to know whether it's going to be a Monstrous Lion, a Vile Imp, or Ring of Morrigan that's going to do you in.
I do think that the choice of going back to his own sites does make a lot of sense to me in the end because he's protecting himself from things like vile imps and kobolds and things like that.
To an extent. I mean, the fact that Kelp Cavern is right up in his face there means that kobolds and Vile Imps can still get him, but theoretically, it's kind of like you feel like you're making progress to being safer if you're at least on your side of the board. As
How
you say, the Funeral Pyre will be a safer place to be.
we see another foil rainbow foil avatar. Why how did the leprechaun die?
From the ring, I assume?
I see,
From the
sure.
kobolds and the trinket? Yeah.
Kobolds and trinket. Got it.
But of course, Nate being on Death's Door first here, as you say, like even though he's got the Bruin, it's still not the place you want to be in Sorcery on Death's Door before your opponent.
That's right. This is interesting because Bruin protects Nate from the thorns. So as long as Bruin lives,
Mm,
actually Pascal can move closer.
that's true.
Oh, wow.
But if Pascal has another disintegrate, which he's already played one of, then the game's just over. That's how close Nate is here.
Yeah, it's very close. I do wonder about the placement of the giantess, because the kobolds with a trinket and a guisarme will definitely be
Mm.
able to take out the giantess. The fact
Uh-huh.
the fact that Nate was able to pick up the guisarme and now
Oh,
use it against Pascal is a little tricky.
that's right. And I think this turn is a great example of, drawing Jihad. It's not the kind of card in a top deck situation that you want to see. And if Nate being on death's door, I'm sure his heart would have sunk a little bit when he drew that card rather than something impactful. But if that had been a couple of turns earlier on one of those key turns, like when he drew the monstrous lion, it could have been even more disastrous. So, you can't always have every card in your deck be one that you want to top deck later. Sometimes you need cards like Jihad, which are just so good at doing what they do, even if it's a bit narrower. But if you do draw them in this kind of situation, it can be bad. But as you say here, the giantess being able to be eaten for free by the kobolds, not exactly what Pascal would have wanted.
Yeah. I guess one thing to note is that the giantess did protect against the attack into the desert on 14. So had Pascal not played the giantess there and immediately woken it up, then it would be the case that the kobolds could have swung in and basically immediately, I think, are very close to putting Pascal on death's door last
Mm,
turn. So
yes.
I can understand why Pascal chose to do that. This is amazing. I mean, to be on death's door for so many turns and still survive. I think the most exciting sorcery games are the ones where somebody or both people are on death's door for multiple turns. And we're seeing a good use of Geyser. Geyser is an excellent way of killing off root spiders, burrowed root spiders, but it's also a way of giving your Bruin a very nice amount of flexibility. Oh, wow. And then Courtesan Thias played for the win. Oh my gosh. Well, that was very exciting. So I think they just stopped at the Courtesan Thias because we knew that Nate would be able to require Pascal to attack, do something that would cause him to take damage on his own turn.
Well, that was a pretty amazing game, Ira. As far as finals go, we had the player who got to death's door first actually ending up winning the game, and winning the game with a Courtesan Tias top decked off a cantrip. I mean, it doesn't get much more dramatic than that. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, wonderful game. Great play by both of these players. I mean, these players were undefeated for the whole day, and they got to go into that finals match in good spirits because they knew they were both getting this special prize. But it was just a great contest. And it was great to see the diversity of Druid decks. Those were two Druid avatars, but they were really quite different decks. And so yeah, it was just a pleasure to watch. Great sorcery, super fun.
Well, if you enjoyed this game and if you are looking forward to getting involved in the Crossroads Tournament Series or in Sorcery Organized Play more generally, head along to the Play Network at play.sorcerytcg.com. You can filter for cornerstone events to find your local cornerstone event near you, where you can play against other players, win some awesome prizes in our Cornerstone Store Championship events. Then we have our Crossroads Regional Championship events like what we had at Gen Con. There are 6 of those this year, with Gen Con already been the first one ticked off. We've got one in Gelsenkirchen in Germany coming up on the 27th and 28th of September. We have one in Melbourne, Australia in October, and then we've got 3 at Star City Games conventions in Baltimore, Houston, Baltimore, and Las Vegas throughout October and November. So you can check out those dates on the Sorcery Play Network filtering for Crossroads events, and we look forward to seeing you contesting the realm soon.